And very good morning, Dr. Sitara, and a, good morning to my mentor, Dr. Raju Krishnan. So happy to be here with both Dr. Sitara and Dr. Raju Krishnan, because we were part of a great journey which started in 2013. And one of the seeds that resulted from that particular program called FLAIR is what is now known as the Lab for Lifelong Learning. Thanks to Sitara, we are so happy to see that the seed that we sowed in 2013 has grown into a tree. It is functioning well. It's breathing normally, and so it's a very happy moment, especially so because Raju Krishnan sir is here, because we have moved across the country to root this program in Kerala, and this lab which has started in Women's College also, it has been part of that effort. So, and thank you, Sitara, for that lavish introduction. I didn't expect to hear so much, because this being an informal discussion about a very important topic. And I also understand that Dr. Shruti Ramachandran is here, another player, teacher from Women's College. Good morning, Shruti. Um, and and a very good morning to all dear students, because you are the focus of all discussions happening today. And please feel free to interrupt at any time if you want to say something, if you want to ask something. Please feel free to interact in between. Now, today we are going to talk about a very important topic. In fact, a topic which is being discussed widely across the world, especially since the COVID pandemic almost erased 1 year from our lifespan. So the world is discussing about future and skills. So we'll be taking some 50 minutes or so for a discussion on this. So please wait for a few seconds. I'd like to share my screen. I have a small presentation with me. So I'll take that, and I request all of you to be patient for a minute. So I believe you can now see the screen with a presentation. Uh, can you all see the PowerPoint presentation which I have shared with you? Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is visible.
Thank you so much. So as I told, we are going to talk about the very important topic of future and skills which are needed to live in the very near future. Now, this is going to be the agenda. Don't be under the notion that we'll be sticking entirely to this. As I told, you can feel free to break this agenda anytime, have a discussion. So now, initially, I'll be telling you as to what the future would look like, because whenever we say something about the future, we should have a very clear idea as to how the future would be looking like. Already it is here, and we have started experiencing it. And also, we'll be seeing two case studies of two successful persons, one from Kerala and another from our country itself, about two persons who have walked boldly from their humble circumstances to become successful persons, even during this particular challenging time. And then we'll go to the skills for the future. We'll have a list of skills. We'll see what those skills are, and then possibly we'll spend some 5-10 minutes to discuss the different points that we have discussed. Now, I would request everyone, especially teachers who are listening to this webinar, to read two very important documents which are available in the public domain and which concerns about this topic of the future jobs, skills needed for the future, how the graduates should be shaping themselves for the future. So the first of the two reports is what you see in the screen now. It is published by the World Economic Forum. It's available in the World Economic Forum website, and it is titled "The Future of Jobs Report 2020," published in the year 2020 October. Now, I've taken 4 very important statements from that report and shown it as 4 points, bullet points. And the first one is about the double disruption. So when I say double disruption, it looks like a very complex jargon. So let me tell you what it is now. Now, disruption, as you rightly know, if something spoils whatever we are doing and keeps us in a disturbed condition, that is a disruption. And already we were facing a disruption due to what is called the Industry 4.0 or the technology disruptions, which were happening all around the world. And coupled with that, we have been experiencing another disruption over the last more than 1 year due to the pandemic. And so this is a double disruption. And the World Economic Forum reports, there is a beautiful line in that report about the future, the current generation. And the report says that the current generation is something like a disillusioned generation living in an era of employment ice age. That is the kind of situation that we are in. And now the report also talks about future of work, how the future work is shaping around us. Already you have some idea as to how the future work is shaping around us, like remote places for work from home, then meetings like this. In fact, the very fact that we are discussing this topic with the help of our computers and internet connection would prove this point of how the future is changing in terms of work and our behaviors. And another very important statement which the World Economic Report says is that now in the year 2020 or 2019, the amount of work shared between man and machine, that is the average time spent by a man and a machine, was something like 42% and 58%. That is, on a particular task or on various tasks, machines spend 42% of time working on that task, whereas men work for 42%. So the man-machine balance was something like 58% man, 42% machine. So man and machine were working together like that in 2019 and 2020. And the report says that by 2025, this will almost be equal, which means machines will be taking a lot of jobs which were earlier being done by man, and both will be working at almost the same amount or time. So this is a very important thing which we need to take into account. So we should be learning how to work with machines in a world where much of the routine tasks will be automated by artificial intelligence, and similar things. And the last point is very, very important, especially for us people who are working in the academics. That is about lifelong learning. Now, because every now and then a disruption is happening, be it in the technology domain or in the world of work or in the research. So what it means is that we cannot comfortably rest in the learning which we already achieved, because every moment world is changing. So we should constantly be learning new things. So that is why the importance of lifelong learning has come. So now what we need to be is we have to be lifelong learners in order to thrive in a world full of changes. Now, the second report which I was talking about is the Global Risk Report of 2021, again by the World Economic Forum, which talks about the risks we are facing now. It has studied a lot of risks around us and prioritized the risks. And I've written the major risks here. You know all these risks. First is the climate change, and you know that our own state has been facing various extreme weather events during the last 3-4 years. In fact, the Women's College Trivandrum have been a very important place in during all those times, managing the crisis, providing the much needed relief for the affected people. So climate change is a very huge risk that we all are going to face or have started facing. Now, the health risks, the pandemic is one health risk that we are facing now, and more such health risks are in store for us. And it also talks about the digital divide and about the digital haves and have-nots. Those people who are comfortable living in a digital age and those people who are not. So this is going to be a huge risk, because those who are not comfortable living in a digital world will be at a great risk in losing many things. So that is very important. And the last line is about the statement which I spoke about, the employment ice age. The world will take much time to recover from the recession into which it has slipped during the last 1 year. So these are the two reports that I wanted to show you. And when I read through these two reports, I could find three words which are being repeated everywhere and which are very important, or which summarizes the whole situation. And the first word is uncertainty. Uncertainty about climate, uncertainty about work, uncertainty about our education, how it will move on. So this is why people always used to refer about what is called uncertain future. That is the first thing that which we need to keep in mind. The second is equally important, that is called resilience. Resilience simply means how we cope up with change, how we bounce back in a disrupted world, and how we become flexible in adapting to this new world, and how we manage ourselves. So resilience is a very, very important term. So we all need to be resilient in a world which is constantly changing, and we will look at different ways by which we can be resilient. And the third very important word is skills, because skills matter. Now, 5 years back, this word was not considered much important. But in a constantly changing world where technology has percolated into almost all aspects of our living, skills are very important. So we cannot wish away this. So we need to be skilled. and we need to be skilled for the future. So there is even a phrase called future-proof skills. You have heard about waterproof watch. When you buy a watch, it may be written that it is shock-proof, waterproof. Just like that, there is something called future-proof skills, and we'll see today's discussion is entirely on future skills or future-proof skills. How we'll see how we can future-proof our skills or be relevant throughout the future. Now, I've made a collage here to tell you something about the kind of world we live in and the kind of skills that we need to have. So, if you look at this slide, this is the current world that which we live in, and where youngsters are finding a life despite all the turmoil, despite all the challenges, despite all the uncertainties. You find a person moving with a delivery box with him. Now that takes us to a very important term called the gig economy or gig jobs. I'm sure many of you might have heard. The world is slowly moving towards gig work or gig economy, which means it is a short-term contract or short temporary jobs. A person, for instance, can have a contract with many employers based on his available time or disposable time. For instance, I'm a professional, or I'm working in a job. I sign a short-term contract with Uber to deliver food for some 2 hours, where I'll be making some money. I'll be signing another contract with, let's say, a digital business firm, and I'll also be spending some time to work with a different firm. So that is what is called a gig kind of job. And we also find startups coming up among youngsters, and through digital entrepreneurship and various other initiatives. And here in this picture, you also find a very important lady who has been in news recently. She had been an active part of the Mars rover project Perseverance, and we also know that there are many youngsters who are flourishing as great writers. So just now let us see how we find ourselves in this situation, and how we plan our future in this particular world. That's why I've written here, walking into the future from college. How do we walk into the future from where we are now? Now, I've written down 4 points, which are very important. And the first is discovering self, which is very important in this world of uncertainties, in this world of constant change. So it is very important that we find our real self, we find our passion, we hone our skills in that passion. Then only we can establish ourselves in a way which is comforting us. And the second very important thing which I would like to tell you is about closing the skill gap. We often hear about the skill gap among graduates, about the expectations of employers and the real skill of our graduates. There is a huge gap. So how do we close the skill gap? And how do we find a career that best suits us in this world of opportunities? And you all know, as I know, that all it needs to flourish in this new world is a good set of skills, a very good computer, a good internet connection, and even from your room, you can establish a career. And many people have established a career like that. and that is the kind of world which we are moving into. And a very important thing which is being spoken about is youth being transforming themselves from being job seekers to job givers. We have many examples before us about people who have taken the entrepreneurship route, and people who have flourished in their own ways. And now, if you don't have anything to comment upon, or to say at this particular point, we will move forward. I would request you to take this opportunity. Especially, I would like to request Rajukishan sir, if I'm sure that he might be having many points, and or teachers and students. Uh, Please let me know if I can move ahead, or you have something against what I have told, or some points to support what I'm talking about, or something to be clarified. So I'll wait for a few seconds, because it's very boring to be listening to a monologue. Um, so I'm all ears for you. Sitara teacher, is it okay if I go ahead, or some discussion is needed at this particular stage?
So there is a question from Raju Krishnan sir.
Yes.
Has the message of GIG reached the student community in Kerala?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for raising this, because, in fact, when I wrote GIG in the presentation, I was also very skeptical whether this is known to students. So, thank you for pointing this out. I'm sure that many students are not aware of what this GIG is about. So, it is quite new thing. Students are not exposed, but slowly we are moving into that, and many of your friends, I'm sure, are working in this world without, though they might not be knowing that what they are doing is a gig type of work. So gig, well, let me repeat what gig is. Gig is nothing but short-term temporary contracts which you undertake based on your available time and based on your skill set. It's nothing very complex. It's very simple. So you partition your time. You take up. So it is against what is the norm these days. These days, a person joins a service. He goes on for some 20, 30 years and then retires. Whereas there can also be another way of working, where we work with a lot of employers based on our available time. It is based on our interest. So, Rajukishan sir, would you like to make a clarification here?
No, I feel that. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, I feel that the attitude of students in Kerala, particularly as far as the job market is concerned, has to change tremendously, because we are still in the race for a PSC job, and the gig concept doesn't match the PSC job concept. So the students have to overcome this attitude if they are to succeed in life with the skills needed for the new generation. That is what I feel.
Yes, yes, very important, sir. Rajukishan sir, being a career expert, having worked in this field for quite some years, he is talking from his experience. He has made a very important point. That is, now one of the issues that which we have found in the state of Kerala is that we always go after secure jobs, which we are being which we are seeing for generations. So PSC is one source of jobs. We go always after that, and we have seen many people, though they have got many skills or many interests or many capabilities, they they don't seize opportunities. But this world is a different world, where you need not be worried if you are not getting a permanent job or a government job. This is a world where you have lot of opportunities. You can be a entrepreneur. You can be working on your passion. You can be you can be giving a service based on your passion, and you can at the same time you can be working and you can be searching for a job. So that is the point. So I'll clarify this when I go ahead with the slides, and at the end of my presentation I'm sure that you'll understand what I'm talking about. Please don't misunderstand me when I say this. I'm not telling you that government jobs are not important. They are important, but then there is a capacity for governments to offer jobs, whereas there is a huge competition. There is a even government is encouraging startups and entrepreneurs to come up to be their own job givers. That's what we are talking about. We are not telling you that government jobs are bad. Government jobs are always good. We are doing a government job, so we need to be part of the government, working in different roles. That's not the point. The point here is that if you have got an interest, you have got skill sets, if you can work in your disposable time in a different field, even when you are working, you should be taking that opportunity. So that is the point. So can I move ahead, Sitara teacher, or should we wait for some more points?
We can move ahead, sir. There is one question from Ria. I think she got the answer by the time now.
Okay.
Uh, yes, sir. We can proceed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rajakushan sir, for that question. So again, once again, I'm going to the presentation. So as I said in the beginning, I'm going to talk about two case studies. In fact, I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to show you a video clipping of these two persons about whom I'm going to talk about. One is a proud person from Kerala, Mr. Joy Sebastian, a person who started from very humble beginnings, from a fishing village in Alapura. He was he in one of his interviews which I have listened to. He told that he had gone fishing with his father, but then at the same time, he was focused on his future. He walked from that particular that position, and then he has now reached a point where he has become an envy, not only for the state but for the entire country. So he has come up with a solution for the whole of the country, which is now considered as a substitute for the Zoom meeting application, and which is called vConsole or Bharat app, which is widely being used. So let's now spend some 5 minutes or so to hear about his achievement. So I'm taking you to a YouTube video.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire, ഇന്ത്യ ഇന്നൊവേഷൻ ചലഞ്ചിൽ ഒന്നാം സ്ഥാനം നേടിയ ചേർത്തല ഇൻഫോ പാർക്കിലെ ടെക് ജംഷിയുടെ അമരക്കാരൻ ജോയ് സെബാസ്റ്റ്യൻ മലയാളികൾക്കെല്ലാം അഭിമാനമാകുകയാണ്. മേക്ക് ഇൻ ഇന്ത്യ വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസിംഗ് പ്രോഡക്റ്റ് നിർമ്മിക്കാൻ കേന്ദ്ര ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ മിനിസ്ട്രി ഓഫ് ഇലക്ട്രോണിക്സ് ആൻഡ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ടെക്നോളജിയാണ് ചലഞ്ച് സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചത്. ഇന്ത്യയുടെ ഔദ്യോഗിക വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസിംഗ് ടൂളായി മാറിയ വി കൺട്രോൾ വികസിപ്പിച്ച സംഘത്തിന്റെ നായകൻ ജീവിതയാത്രയിൽ ഏറെ പ്രതിസന്ധികളെ തരണം ചെയ്താണ് ഈ നിലയിലെത്തിയത്. ആത്മനിർഭർ ഭാരതത്തിന്റെ തിളക്കമാണ് ഈ
ഇന്ത്യയുടെ ഔദ്യോഗിക വീഡിയോ കോൺഫറൻസിംഗ് ടൂളായി മാറിയ വി കൺസോൾ വികസിപ്പിച്ച സംഘത്തിന്റെ നായകൻ ജീവിതയാത്രയിൽ ഏറെ പ്രതിസന്ധികളെ തരണം ചെയ്താണ് ഈ നിലയിലെത്തിയത്. ആത്മനിർഭർ ഭാരതത്തിന്റെ തിളക്കത്തിലാണ് ജോയ് സെബാസ്റ്റ്യന്റെ ജീവിത വിജയം.
സ്കൂളിൽ പഠിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഇവിടെ അടുത്തൊരു തീപ്പെട്ടി കമ്പനി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഞങ്ങൾ ചേട്ടൻ 10ാം ക്ലാസ് കഴിഞ്ഞ വെക്കേഷൻ കാലത്ത് ഞാൻ കയർ ഫാക്ടറി ജോലി ചെയ്ത് പോവാണ്. പിന്നെ ആ ജോലിയൊക്കെ വിട്ട് ട്യൂഷനായി പ്രധാന വരുമാന മാർഗം. MCA കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴത്തേനും ടീച്ചറായിട്ട് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സയൻസ് ടീച്ചറായി പഠിപ്പിക്കാൻ. അതുകൊണ്ട് ബാക്കി ജോലികളൊക്കെ അവിടെ നിന്ന് ഒരു LD ക്ലർക്ക് ജോബ് പണ്ട് ഡിഗ്രി കഴിഞ്ഞ സമയത്ത് എഴുതിയിരുന്ന LD ക്ലർക്ക് ജോബ് വേണ്ടാന്ന് വെച്ചു. MCA പഠിക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങിയ കാലത്ത് 2 കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറുകൾ ഇവിടെ ഹോസ്റ്റലിലെ ആവശ്യത്തിന് വേണ്ടി തിരിച്ചു വരുമ്പോൾ പഠിക്കാനൊക്കെ ആയിട്ട് അവരെല്ലാവരും കൂടെ മേടിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഞാനതിൽ ഒരു പിരിവിട്ടിരുന്ന ആളല്ല, ബാക്കി എല്ലാവരും കൂടെ മേടിച്ചത്. പക്ഷെ അവര് ഹോസ്റ്റലിൽ നിന്ന് എല്ലാവരും പിരിഞ്ഞു പോകുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ പോകുന്നതിന്റെ പുറകെ അവരൊരു കാറ് പിടിച്ച് ഈ 2 കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ എന്റെ വീട്ടിൽ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ട് അവര് പറഞ്ഞു, നീ ഇത് വെച്ചിട്ട് നിന്റെ ട്യൂഷൻ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് കുറച്ച് കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറും കൂടെ പഠിപ്പിക്കണം, അത് നിനക്കൊരു വരുമാനമാവും, ജോലി കിട്ടുന്നവരെ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു വഴി എന്നുള്ളത്. അവരാണ് സത്യത്തിൽ എന്നെ സംരംഭകത്വത്തിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്നത്. അത് വെച്ചിട്ട് ഞാനൊരു കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സെന്റർ തുടങ്ങിയാണ് എന്റെ സംരംഭകത്വ പരിപാടി പണ്ട് 2000 നടത്തുന്നത്. ആദ്യമായിട്ട് 2014 സാലറി കൊടുക്കാനില്ലാത്ത അവസ്ഥയിലൊക്കെ കമ്പനി എത്തിപ്പെടുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഈ സമയത്തൊന്നും ഏറ്റവും നല്ല ടെക്നിക്കലി ക്വാളിഫൈഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒത്തിരി പേര് ഞങ്ങളുടെ കമ്പനിയിലുണ്ട്. ടെക്നിക്കൽ ക്വാളിഫിക്കേഷൻ മാത്രമല്ല, വേൾഡ് ക്ലാസ് എഞ്ചിനീയേഴ്സ് നമ്മുടെ കമ്പനിയിലുണ്ട്. അവരെല്ലാം സാലറി ഇല്ലാതെയും ഈ ടെക്നോളജിയുടെ കൂടെയും ഈ റിസർച്ചിലും വിശ്വസിച്ച് കൂടെ നിൽക്കാൻ തയ്യാർ. ഡിജിറ്റൽ ഇന്ത്യ നടപ്പിലാവാൻ വേണ്ട വലിയൊരു ഇൻഫ്രാസ്ട്രക്ചർ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെന്റ് ഇനി നടക്കേണ്ട ഒരു സ്ഥലമാണ്. ഡിജിറ്റൽ ഇന്ത്യ നടപ്പാക്കിയാൽ അതിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും നല്ല ഗുണഫലം അനുഭവിക്കാം ഈ വലിയ കമ്പനികളോ വലിയ പണക്കാരോ ഒന്നും ആയിരിക്കില്ല, ഏറ്റവും താഴേക്കിടയിലുള്ള ജനമായിരിക്കുമെന്ന് വിശ്വസിക്കുന്ന ഒരാളാണ്.
പാഠശാലയുടെ അനുഭവങ്ങളാണ് ആത്മവിശ്വാസവും അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് ആലപ്പുഴ.
In the last 2 years, I went.
So we have seen Mr. Joy Sebastian talking about his humble beginning, and the reason why I showed this to you is to drive home the point that entrepreneurship is very, very important in this particular time that we are moving in. When I say entrepreneurship, there is a popular misconception that entrepreneurship is only for engineering students. Entrepreneurship is only for science students. But then this is a popular misconception. Even social students can take up entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about that in the coming slides. Let me now go to the second case, which is a very interesting case about a person who has overcome all difficulties and come up successful in life. So again, let me take you to a YouTube video. Sorry for the advertisements that are coming in between. And I've directly given that YouTube link. I've not downloaded the video. Sorry for that. So after showing you this, I want to tell you one very important thing. The reason why I showed you this is not to suggest that you should be uh, running away from your circumstances to find a career. And glamour industry, as we all know, it is full of it is highly slippery and all those things. The reason why I showed this video was for a different thing. That is, I just wanted to highlight the point that how people come up in life despite all the hurdles that they face, how they work, find time to work to pay their fees, how they keep sight of their passion, all those things. So it's not to tell you that there are opportunities in fashion industries or you just need to run away from your home. It's not that. So please don't misunderstand me. And keeping these two case studies in mind, one which I showed you to tell the importance of entrepreneurship, the starting something new, transforming from being a job seeker to a job giver. That was the first case study about. Second case study is about adaptability, coping with change, perseverance, finding a career despite all the challenging conditions. So these are the two things that I wanted to show you through these case studies. Now I'm going to come to the last part, which is what we are going, which is why we are here today. That is about future skills or the skills needed for graduates. Now, if you look at skills for graduates, I would say three very important skills are needed in graduates. One is the domain skills, which are very important, which relates directly to what they are being trained in. For instance, if you are a biotechnology student or a researcher, your domain is biotechnology or life science, and you need to develop your skills in that. That's what I mean by domain skills. And generic skills means what is general, what is seen in many areas, and which you should also develop. That is generic skills. I'll tell you what these generic skills are. And finally, professional skills. I'm sure you know what professional skills mean. Now, these are the domain skills. Just to make me very clear, that is, you should be knowing how to apply what you have learned, how to analyze problems, how to apply theory into practice, and how to do projects based on your understanding, how to take the learning from your classroom to the real world, how to apply it in real world situations, how to write a good paper, how to present your project, or how to present your research in a better way. So these are the domain skills that I am talking about. So this again, earlier I mentioned about a skill gap, and let me come to that skill gap here also. Now, though we are being trained in a good way, but we find that in many graduates and many students, this gap between what is needed and what is there is very wide. So we should be keeping this in mind. These are all generic skills, and we'll be exclusively talking about generic skills today, not about domain skills, because I know that there are people from different disciplines. So this is a common language which we all know about. So I'll explain about each of these skills. Just I wanted to show you the kind of skills that we are talking about. And these are also known as higher order skills. And higher order skills are what is needed in this world of technology, in this world of change, because that is relevant in this particular world. And now let me come to each of these generic skills. So the point I'm conveying through this each of these slides is that you should be developing these generic skills irrespective of the discipline in which you are being trained. You should be developing these skills if you want to be a successful person. Be it a research career that you may select in the future, or you may go into a government job, or you might become an entrepreneur, or you will become a social scientist, or whatever it be. You should be having this generic skills. The communication is the first skill which you need to develop, because that is one skill which we all find ourselves lacking in, because unless and otherwise we can explain what we are trying to convey, there is no point in the whole efforts that we are taking. So we should be we should be very confident communicators. We should be knowing how to use the language, and the popular language of communicating with the wider world is English. So definitely you should be mastering this language, and you should be knowing how to converse in this foreign language. And now, when we talk about future and the highly technological world, we cannot do away without digital skills. Now, these things which I've shown in this particular slides are the most important things we are doing every now and then. That is working from home, collaborating with the wider world. People will be there in different parts of the world, but you'll all be working together in a project, on a research paper, or on something which you are working on. That is called virtual collaboration. It is possible through technology, and we use several digital platforms. For instance, Google is a platform which we are using for this particular meeting. We will be using different paid and free platforms. So we should be familiar how to move in these platforms, how to collaborate virtually, how to work from home, how to conduct meetings. So these are the kinds of digital skills which we need to have if we want to move into the future. Now, problem solving is a very important skill which we need to have in life as well as in our career. Now, it is an art also, solving problems. Now, there is a standard methodology also for problem solving. We should understand what the problem is, what is the problem that we are facing, and we should be knowing the various alternatives to solve the problem, and we should select the best way to solve the problem, and then we should work on it. So that is these are something which are very, very general to problem solving. So when you are working on a problem related to your subject, or you are working on a problem in life, we should all be working in a very, very systematic way. Then only we will be able to come out successful, or we can tackle that problem successfully. Now, this is another very important skill that we need to have. That is, we should all be emotionally intelligent. We should be aware of ourselves. We should be able to understand our personality. We should be able to manage our personality. That is the most important thing. And here, you find that this pyramid, emotional intelligence pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is the first thing which we ought to have in emotional intelligence. If we have this, we say that we are emotionally intelligent at the first level. We are aware about ourselves. We understand that we have some limitations, and we should be working on that. We have first level of emotional intelligence. And if we can manage that, let's say someone is very short-tempered, and that person understands that she is short-tempered, and when she faces a situation, she works on that and manages that, and then you can say that that person has got a second degree of emotional intelligence, and that person knows how to manage self. And if that person can find directions and can understand others, work with others, then it is the third level of emotional intelligence. And if that person can manage the emotions of others also, can move around successfully with others, can have empathy towards others, then we say that that person has got fourth level of, or the, it is the final level of emotional intelligence. And we in leaders we find this final stage of emotional intelligence. That's why they are highly successful. And on the right hand side, you find signs of low emotional intelligence. I'm not reading out, it is there for you to see, and you just analyze yourself and see where you are, or at what level you are. So this is very important, because we are in this present world, or in the world which we will be moving in the future. It is a world of multiple cultures. We'll be moving around with different people. So we need to have an emotional intelligence with which we can work with everyone. So this is my point. We need to network across cultures. Networking is a very important skill. That is why when you move in different gatherings, you find that some people are highly successful because they keep on connecting with people. They keep on establishing relations. They keep on building rapport, and that is very much needed, because teamwork is a very important factor in the future world, or the world which we are faced with now. So we should be able to network with different cultures, and this is highly important as far as we are concerned, with being in the field of academics. That is, as I told you, change is something which never changes, or in other words, we are being exposed to constant changes. Every now and then there is a change, and we need to adjust to that change. And most important, I want to tell you one thing: the different disciplines which you know, that is changing. That is changing very fast, and some of the repetitive jobs which we are doing now may not be there in the future. For instance, you already have started experiencing that banks have started tremendous transformation. With a mobile phone or a smartphone, you can do half the banking operations. So the way we do banking and way we do commerce, it has changed. So a person who is doing commerce, or who is learning banking, need to learn these new things. So that's why we say that we should not only learn, we should unlearn once there is a change, and we should learn something new. We should be ready, open to new learning. Only then we can cope up with the change. So that is why we say that we should all be lifelong learners. So the World Economic Forum report says that at least half of the workforce will become redundant in the near future, because the new work, new job roles, or the new disciplines, or the new positions that will be coming will be totally new, where new skill sets are needed. Only if you learn these new things, you'll be able to adapt. So there will always be something that keeps on changing, and so you should be learning. So be very sure that you become lifelong learners. And I told you earlier that innovation and entrepreneurship is not only for technical students or engineering students or science students. Innovation can also be with social sciences. There is something which is popularly known as social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is nothing but changing the way we relate in the society. That can be engineered and that can be created as a social entrepreneurship, something which we do in the social sphere. So just I wanted to convey this point. So social entrepreneurship is a very important discipline. So you can always find new innovations. You can think about new ideas. You can develop it into a innovation. You can, if that innovation is meaningful in the society, you can start up. You can become a startup. So that is how many startups are developing. And even the government of Kerala over the last few years have given a lot of importance for student startups through Startup Mission Kerala. And I'm sure that colleges also have got some initiatives to encourage student startups. So this is very important skill that we need to have. And this was not a skill some 2-3 years back, but now it is considered as a very important skill, as it is considered as a core skill by WHO now, World Health Organization, considered as a skill which everyone should have, because because of the kind of changes that is happening around. So two words are very important. One is adaptability, how we adapt to these changes, how we change ourselves when such changes happen. And second is a very important phrase, cognitive flexibility. Cognition means something to do with thinking. So here in this picture, you find on the left-hand side, whatever is related to thinking, solving problems, thinking critically, connecting ideas, synthesizing information, everything has to do with cognition or the cognitive aspect. Flexibility means, how to bend, twist, how to maneuver when there is a difficult situation. It's just like when you move around in traffic, when there are some blocks and all, you just move in different ways to circumvent all those things. So combining these two, if you have a cognitive flexibility, you can think differently in different situations. When there is a change, you can find alternatives. You know that there is many ways to do the same thing. Only when you face with adversities, you think about different things. Otherwise, you think in the same line. I'm sure that research scholars here may have something to share in this particular thing which I'm talking about. There may be students here who have found out different ways of doing the same thing. In fact, I have many experience to share, and your teachers also might be having different experience. We'll reserve that for the discussion time. And these are some of the very important points about the future skills that we ought to have. I wanted to talk about, and I've done that. As last point, I want to tell you that understand yourself, close the skill gap, acquire the right skills, and be a future-ready person. Future-ready person is a person who can cope up with any situation, or who can establish a successful career despite all the disruptions that happen in life or in the real world. So I stop here. I open this webinar for discussion. This floor is now for everyone. I urge all the research scholars of Government Women's College. I have very high regard for students of Government Women's College, because I've participated in many programs of Government Women's College, and I've told students of different colleges that students of Women's College always they are very expressive. They come out with ideas. They open up. So I expect many of you to share your ideas about what we have discussed today. And also I request the teachers, Shruti Ramachandran, who is a teacher and a trainer in language to express her ideas. And Dr. Sitara, I have great regard for her, the kind of good work she is doing. I'm sure she has got plenty of experience shaping the students, skilling the students and all. And the education are also. So I stop here and I stop presenting, and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry that I forgot to inform you that this year we are having students from University College, then St. Teresa's College, um, and also from one more college. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Apart from Women's College, we have students from other colleges also joining the LQ. And today we have Dr. Uma Jyoti with us. Then we have Dr. Professor Lalita Vatta, who is from the University of Varanasi, Banaras Hindu University. I think she left now. She was also involved in a lot of skill development programs. Earlier she was with University of Rajasthan, and she was very interested to listen to you, and she was asking me like just inform me when the session is going on, because she is also interested to have collaborations with Kerala on skilling and providing expertise on soft skills, especially to the students. Then we have Professor Kyle Viri Murugan from University of Pondicherry. She is also here to listen to you, and just for your information.
Thank you for that intervention, because I didn't know that Professor Umadevi was listening to this webinar. In fact, she's a person I've been closely following her through social media. A person who is doing a lot of things for skilling students, grooming students. I'm sure that she has got many things to share, and also to all the students from different colleges, University College, my own college where I was teaching for 12 years. I say hi to those students from St. Teresa's College, students, a college with which we were being closely associated with in Walk with Scholar program and all. So hi to students from St. Teresa's College, and to all faculty members. I'm sure that the faculty members would be having tremendous experience. In fact, they can add on to whatever I've told. Thank you, Sitara, for mentioning this.
Dr. Jaykiran, I would may add something to your last few slides. Yes, I don't know if I have missed your points. You are speaking about the skills required for the future. No? I would suggest that some of the skills required or the recruiters will be looking for in the coming years in a student or in a prospective employment seeker would be some survival skills. That you should be able to survive under any circumstances, particularly in the context of Corona. Survival skills are going to be very much important. Then another one I would suggest is thriving in a virtual environment. That skill would be very much in demand in the coming periods, I feel. So I think I would add these skills also. If you have added, if you already mentioned that, please bear with me. This would be important, I feel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. In fact, I didn't say it explicitly, but coping with change, I thought it covered that topic. But thank you for pointing this out. Survival skill is considered as a very important skill, and also the digital skills I had mentioned about the second point that you have mentioned. So thank you very much, sir.
Resilience is also going to be a skill that is going to be looked for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So in addition to the conventional skills like critical thinking, then communication skills and all these, the new trend towards skill seeking is some of these that you have mentioned, along with these additions I have included.
Thank you.
Hello, can I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is Dr. Kairviri Balamurugan from Puducherry. Excellent presentation, sir. Thank you so much. And I congratulate my dear Sitara, such a efficient and eminent, proactive person. Recently, we got connected, and congratulations to her students also. My thing is, I would like to add one more point. That is very basic, but whenever I say, I used to say this skill is skill in choosing the right type of diet and doing exercise. That I used to put in the first point. Being a home scientist, apart from that, though we teach, we are lacking in choosing the right type of diet. So that one should have, whether it is home science student or whatever it may be, when we are perfectly all right and be fit. So definitely we can accrue if our body and mind is in correct condition. Whatever you said, it is easy for the student or whatever it may be, whoever it may be, we can accrue. So when you talk, kindly add this point also. Actually.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you so much. It's a very, very important point. In fact, in the Global Risk Report, it is mentioned that mental health of the current generation is going to be a big issue because given the kind of situations they are facing and the way they are living, their lifestyles, especially relating to the nutrition, which you spoke about, their eating habits and all. So the mental health and nutritional health, these are two very important factors to be considered. So thank you for raising this point. So I would add mental health
Yeah, yeah.
also for that.
We will be very happy wherever you speak about this also as a first point.
Thank you,
Uh,
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Because I'm also in charge for entrepreneurship development cell of my college. It is blooming. Definitely, we will be inviting you also. And
Yeah,
Sitara, I promised I would like to invite Sitara also for
thank
one
you.
session. But
Thank
it is a little bit difficult to organize frequent programs. So though, I mean, during this pandemic, we also organized few programs for our students. So it is very nice to hear from you. The way of presentation also very wonderful. Your slides and other thing. So you
thank
have
you.
covered everything. Only thing this all the best for your future endeavors also. And congratulations to the team. Thank you, Sitara.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, do you have access to this chat box? We are getting some thoughts in the chat box as well. Abhirami, a student of MSc Physics, her point is, sir,
Yes,
personally speak.
I am reading
Yes,
Abhirami's
yes,
comment.
yeah.
Personally speaking, as mentioned earlier, emotional intelligence of a person really plays a very important role in his or her personal and professional life. A person with adequate EQ will survive under any circumstance or at least give it a try. So, thank you for realizing the importance of the point. The very fact that Abhirami has highlighted that point means that she has taken this into consideration and she is applying that in her life as well. Thank you, Abhirami, for your comment. And Atira Krishnan has written about a role of parents in supporting students to go behind passion rather than employment. How to convince them? Now, this is a very, very tough question to answer. I, being a parent, I am also finding it very difficult in my personal life, but then I have succeeded to some point in letting my children go following their passion rather than our own interest. So this is a very, very, very important point that Adira has highlighted. Parents always they think about safety, security, safe career, all those things. Whereas the passion of students might be entirely the different line. In fact, let me cite one example of a family friend of mine whose son is actually doing engineering degree, and that person's passion is music, whereas his parents want him to pursue engineering. And then, due to the parental pressure, that boy has joined engineering and he's in the second year. But then the boy never he cannot leave that idea from his mind. But then he devotes maximum time for his band troupe and bringing up new albums and all. And I always try to tell this point to my friends that it's very important that we give importance to this particular passion of this child. But then the parents' point is equally important. That is what I want to highlight. The point from parent is that graduation is something which is very basically needed for everyone. So we are not preventing our son from following his passion, but then we are requesting him to complete his graduation and then go after his passion. So this is a very, very tricky area, and maybe some of the teachers here, Raju Kishan sir, Uma teacher, if Uma teacher is here, I would like to hear from her, because I know that she is doing a lot of good work. So she may also have a point or two to add in this particular thing. Raju sir.
It's very, very difficult to convince the parents about the importance of going by the students' aptitude and interest, because some of the parents at least have their own priorities. Those things that they could not achieve in their life, they seem to have faith in their children achieving them. There is a basic problem with the parent community in Kerala, not all, but at least a few of them. So I feel that career guidance or career information is to be given to the students at an early stage, and it should start at least from the later part of the secondary school stage. That is, at least from the 9th standard, because from 10th standard onwards, or after the 10th standard onwards, the students are going to take decisions as far as their career is concerned. So if a slight deviation from the area of interest is made at the stage of class 10, that is going to affect his career throughout. So in Kerala, again, coming back to the Kerala situation, we boast that we are special in all respects. Even the thinking attitude is special as far as Keralites are concerned. The parents actually have high expectations. It is actually thrust into them by the system. That is what I feel, because with a 98% pass in the plus two in the SSLC, with a 88% pass in the plus two stage, the feeling of the students, their aspirations go high, because the evaluation system doesn't actually represent the caliber of the students. That is what I feel, because as a part of the system where I have been working for almost 40 years, I feel that the real caliber of the student is not brought out through the results that we give to the students. So we have to make a total change in the system if the intention is to be achieved. But I have no expectation that is going to happen in the near future, because our intention is to raise the pass percentage at year after year. This is a basic problem with the Keralites, and that is why our students do not think about skill courses, because the experience in ASAP also was really shocking, because even after providing skill-based courses, when employment is given to them, they say that they are not interested in that because of the non-acceptability of that system, that course or that profession by the system. So the attitude has to change both for the students and the parents. Go by the interest and aptitude only, and it is the parents who could easily find out the aptitude of the student. There is no need to have an aptitude test or anything to decide or identify the aptitude. If you keenly observe your child, because once a child is born, the child is with the parents throughout. The keen observation of the child can lead to the identification of the aptitude of the student without taking any aptitude test, because aptitude test also depends on the situation you are in when you are taking the test. But observation, because the parents' problem with the parents is that they do not observe their child, they observe the children of other parents, how they move, how they think, which course they take, and it is based on that the destiny of their own children are decided. So the attitude has to change. Observe your child keenly. Then only the student can move with as per his aspirations and aptitude. That is what I feel from my experience of the last 40 years.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone would like to share a point in this particular issue of following passion of students? If not, we will discuss about a very
Sir,
important. Yes.
sir, this is Shruti. Sir,
Uh,
it was a pleasure listening to you after so long. So it's been almost 8 years since our association. It's wonderful to listen to you and Raju Krishnan, sir. And I'm really happy that I could listen to you all. And it's such a timely presentation, sir, especially your thoughts on the gig economy. And it is going to be very, very useful. And many students seem to have a lot of concerns about this particular aspect that you talked about, and rightly so. And because what we observe in students is everybody wants to go for PSC exams. That is the standard answer that we get. What do you want to do after graduation? Everybody says we want to write PSC exams, and this is a very different and timely thought that you have put in the minds of students and also the teachers. Even this was something very new to me as well, and I think I'm going to share it with my students as well. The need to think of something different, and for that I must thank you, sir, for telling us about what is happening around us, things that we need to know. And I'm very glad that I listened to you, and I'm sure all the listeners here must have thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, teacher. In fact, thanks to Rajavishan sir for asking about that gig part. That's why I could give some clarification. So this is something which we should be discussing more. And I can cite many examples of students from our campuses. Out of their dire necessity, they have taken up these kind of work. A student who is not going after these things, they might not understand the importance. But then, when there is a strong need, one will explore all possibilities. So that is there. So think about this. I would request all of you to Google and find out some as to what a gig is about and how the world is moving and how your friends are working in this gig world. It doesn't mean that you should take up small jobs. You can, even if you are confident, you can also go for a professional kind of jobs with your kind of experience and all. So thank you so much. I would like to now read a very important question which has come up from Riyamul Raji. In fact, I would say this is one question which should bother us all, because this is the condition of many students during these lockdown days, and during the days when students are confined to four walls, learning through internet, and not meeting friends, not having any social contacts and all. So the question is like this: uh, there are students who feel crippled during this period, unable to come out of certain mental blocks. When so many things are to be taken care of in terms of coping up with the change, certain students find it difficult to keep moving. There is a tendency of completely switching off their acumen. What comments do you have on this issue? Riyamol, first of all, let me tell you that I feel deeply sorry for this particular kind of situation in which students of your age are all faced with, because at our age we didn't face anything like this. In your case, one whole year or more than that have been washed off from your life, and especially final year students, they are totally confused as to which direction to take, what will happen. And when I find my own students attending Google classes and thinking about exams and all those things, I feel this more. So thank you for asking this question. This is a very serious question, and I would request. I'll share my view. I need to organize a bit But if there is someone who can help Riyamul with this question, I would gladly welcome that person. Raju sir or Raju sir, any comments on this particular aspect that Riyamul has highlighted?
It's a very difficult situation that the students are into. But as I said, you have to look for survival options in any situation. That is a skill that you need to develop. That's only that I could say on this point.
Let me share one of my experience to Riyamul, because during the lockdown days, when I was at home for 4 or 5 continuous months, though I was not facing the same situation as you or any of my student friends, but when a person is confined to a place, a person is taken off from the usual routine, when the person is living in a totally uncomfortable situation, then there is many uncertainties, many confusions take over, and then start influencing mind. So from my experience, what I did was, when I felt uh, uncertain at times, I thought more about what will happen in the future. And when in such challenging conditions, what I did was, I used to take a break. I used to take a break in the sense that I followed my interest of I was reading more, or I was watching movies which I liked the most. I was spending, whenever I felt comfortable, I used to come back to the routine. I started working online and all. So I used to take that break, much needed break, because what used to happen was that when you were moving around freely in your college, though you are not realizing, there were a lot of shock absorbers. There were not lot of counselors in your life, who maybe your own friends, maybe your teachers, they were all supporting you. So when you are cut off from such support systems, it affects you. Like Rajakrishnan sir said, you need to believe on in your own survival instincts. You need to develop your own methods. So one small point I want to tell you is that when you face such challenging times, when you face such mental blocks, you don't think too much. You follow your interest. You do what you like doing. Don't think too much about that particular challenging situation. Then come back to that situation whenever you feel comfortable. This is the only advice I can give at this particular moment, based on my experience. Maybe someone else who has faced similar situation, and the kind of coping strategy she has taken can be shared here. Sitara teacher or Shruti teacher, do you have something to add to this?
I have just one more point, sir. Like Rajakrishnan sir and you mentioned, it is a time for self-reflection. That is true. We get enough and more time to reflect on what our experiences are, what our weaknesses are, what our strengths are, and I think this is a point at which you can do a lot of self-reflection, which is going to help you a lot as not just students but as individuals. And I would also like to make a point that today, in fact, there are a lot of opportunities online. In fact, during this period, we explored so much of advancement. Like we did not know about Zoom meetings or WebEx or anything before that, and this was our opportunity to learn about such things. And Ria, there are so many options online regarding improving your domain skills. There are so many free courses online, and if you have access to technology, like if you have access to the net, you can do a lot. You can there is a lot that you can actually do to improve your skills, domain skills. And that, I think, would be a wonderful way of handling this pandemic, by improving yourselves, by doing a lot of courses online. They take your time. Most of these courses are self-paced. You can do it in your own time. but then these things would give you more opportunities to know about what is happening in your field. And if you don't feel like doing that, you can just take me time. You can take time for yourself, reflect on what is going around you, what you need to do in, say, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. You can do that, and this is the time that you can actually sit and plan, and I think you should be able to handle it. This is one way of coping with the situation that
Thank
we
you.
are in.
Thank you, teacher. Jasla has raised her hand. I think she has got a point to share. Jasla, would you? She has left. I think there is some issue. But let me.
Um, Sir, what
Yes.
I would
Yes.
like to add upon what Shruti has mentioned is that exactly self-reflection is very important, and when you try to find your own solution, passion is the first thing that comes in front of you. You need to find the one thing that really triggers you, that really makes you happy and really makes you comfortable out of all the uncomfortable sounds. So go behind that passion, identify what else you can do with that, so that you will have better emotional levels. Especially, we all need to have better emotional hygiene rather than just as similar to personal hygiene and sanitation. We need to have cleanliness on our emotions and also. And another thing that you can have is try to build and believe one friend with whom you can share and care. Sharing means don't expect to get advice or solutions to all the problems every time, but you can rely upon whom you believe that that person will not neglect your talks. That is very important. Similarly, you can also be a good listener, and you can start that by sharing or listening to the younger ones at your home or your surroundings. When once you start listening to the younger ones, they have lot of things to tell to you. That itself will make you comfortable. So I'm sure that this is not the situation that Ria is facing alone. She must be a voice for all the friends. So this is a thing that we can think about. And another thing is meditation. Yes, it will definitely play a greater role. There are lots of, as Shruti ma'am has mentioned, there are plenty of YouTube videos available on the basics of meditation. So there are a lot of doctors and professionals who had given. Don't go behind the fake ones. Try to search the professional ones and follow meditational techniques, irrespective of any religion. They give mindfulness to you, and practicing mindfulness and meditation will to an extent help lot of good things to keep us emotionally hygiene. And that's why I said go to the younger ones, so that you will have a feeling that you are listening to them and you are in need to someone. So that is what I preach and practice during this lockdown. As I said, I too had a bitter experience when I had to go for the when my colleague was tested positive and I was forced to go for room isolation. And I should say that is a 14 days which never I had experienced in my life. And I really had gone through all those traumas and stress and the so-called strain that you have. So keeping a journal or writing a diary will also help you to have a self-reflection and to ease the tension that you have on your mind. And obviously, as everyone said, music, listening to music, going behind the passion, sharing what you have done with the younger ones will definitely boost you. That's what I believe from my personal experience and from my understanding. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your valuable inputs. In fact, what Sitara teacher has mentioned, very important, and also Shruti teacher's comment, Raju sir. I just uh, re- uh, one thing that comes to my mind is a situation from football game.
The,
Now, in football, when the striker finds that it's very difficult to play with the ball in the opponent's area or near the goalpost, what he does is he passes the ball to his own post where the goalie is standing alone and gives the ball to that person, and then the goalie starts working with the ball, gives the ball to the defender. Defender slowly and steadily finds a way out, then starts new. So as Sitara teacher rightly mentioned, one of the ways that we can do is to focus on ourselves and finding our passion, nurturing that passion, doing some meditation kind of thing so that we get strength, and then working on the generic skills and all which I mentioned, so that you will not be wasting time. You will be developing yourself, and as we all know, this is not our fault due to which we are facing such a situation. So when you stay calm for some time, for this time to pass, we will come out successful. That's what I feel from all the inputs given by the respected teacher friends. So Jasla earlier had raised her hand. I'm sure that she has something to convey. Jasla, are you here? No, I think teacher. I think if there are no more comments or questions.
There is one question from Adira Krishnan, like, does the schools are providing enough skill education to the students, especially in this pandemic period?
In fact, some of the schools, especially the Kendriya Vidyalayas and all, I know that they are giving importance to skills in students. They are doing some deliberate efforts to develop skills in students. But I know this because my son is studying in Kendriya Vidyalaya. But about other schools, I'm not sure if any deliberate effort is being taken. But additional skill acquisition program, which is there in almost all schools across the state. During this pandemic time also, they had engaged the students, though not all students, some of the students in skill development activities and all. But other than that, I cannot comment upon this because you need to know what is happening in schools. That is what I want to respond to this from Adira.